From the misty Pacific coast to the rugged Cascade Mountains and beyond to the high desert in the east, you are listening to the Oregon First Hunting and Fishing Podcast.
Well, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. You're listening to the Oregon First Hunting and Fishing Podcast. We are recording here in Salem with Colten Holdorf. I just wanted to start off with a few announcements. Please follow us wherever you'd like and leave us a review wherever you are listening right now, because it helps push the show and more people will hear it and get to be a part of what we're doing. And then the last thing is we want you to join our club. That's Salem First Hunting and Fishing Club, and you can join that on Facebook. We have a group there that we use to coordinate all of our events. And our next event coming up, get ready for springtime, we're going to be doing some fishing. So that'll be fun. We used to go to a private pond in Kaiser and fish with a family from the church here. Unfortunately, Marvin passed away, and so now we're going to figure out a new spot to go and try to catch some bass. It's always a fun time. What do they call them? Ditch pickles? Have you heard that?
I've never heard that one before.
You heard that one, Colton?
Yeah. The bass are fun on a fly rod, so.
Yeah, that's the only thing I've caught on a fly rod. Smallmouth bass and a bluegill. I caught a bluegill.
There we go.
You know, one time, this is getting a little off topic, I had a blowgun. I still have this blowgun, and it had a dart that was a bamboo stick that it was a 5-foot long blowgun. This thing was serious, and so I used some thread and super glue and attached like a sharp metal barb facing backwards, and then I tied fishing line through the shaft of the bamboo. And then I would take it to the pond where all the bluegill were spawning, and I probably shot that thing 150 times. But bamboo does not go through water very well because it floats. And so...
Yeah, and you probably shouldn't be shooting bluegill either there, buddy.
Or maybe any fish. It's kind of a prohibited method of...
Carp only.
I guess carp. But carp with the blowgun would be a challenge. Those things are tough.
Have you seen Tim Wells do that?
I have seen Tim Wells do lots of stuff, and it does not surprise me that name would come out of your mouth in a conversation about blowguns. Yeah. So, Jericho, you do some bow fishing, right?
Yeah.
Is bow fishing the exact opposite of fly fishing?
I wouldn't say necessarily, but there's definitely some pretty significant contrasts.
Yeah, because I think of like fly fishing as like the very strong like catch and release, soft handling. You know, it's like there's sort of a culture in fly fishing that way. Bow fishing is before you even get the thing in the boat, you're stabbing it with an arrow. I mean,
the targeting a specific fish with a singular goal of like trying to target that one. There's some similarity there.
Okay.
You're hunting a little more rather than just hoping to catch something.
Okay.
Yeah, you're kind of sight fishing too.
Yeah, the sight fishing component of it. There's some similarities.
There you go. Yeah.
Way to find the bridge. We don't want to cause a war, right, between the bow fisherman Jericho and the fly fisherman Colton. So
I've done a little bit of bow fishing myself.
Oh, you have? Okay.
Yep, for carp and Canyon Ferry in Montana.
Wow. Sweet.
Yep, lots of opportunity there. So.
Cool. In this episode, we are going to talk about fly fishing and have a conversation with our guest, Colten Holdorf. Colten is the Willamette Valley Region Director for the nonprofit Fellowship of Christian Athletes in their outdoor division. He loves fly fishing. He moved from Montana to Oregon about 3 years ago to be a staff member with FCA. And before that, he worked at a Christian outdoor camp.
Yeah, the director statement, that's a little bit of a stretch.
Okay. But, can I leave it in or should we change it?
I don't know what else you would call it. So you can call it a director. That's fine.
Just embrace it, dude.
Yeah.
Do you like work from home a lot?
Yeah.
Do you have an office at home?
Yeah. It's a multifaceted.
Put a placard on the door of your office that says Director, Willamette Valley Region of FCA Outdoors, and it's yours. You've taken it.
Yep.
Yeah. That's the best part about being like self-funded, right? Like you earn your own support.
Yeah. Yep.
You can take that title. What are they going to do? What are they going to do?
Yep.
Right? All right. Let's get into some icebreakers.
All right, Colten, are you ready? I think we know the answers to a lot of these, but first question, fishing or hunting?
Gonna have to be fishing.
That's what we thought.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we know the answer to the second one too, but fly fishing or conventional?
Fly fishing. That's what I know. So.
All right.
Now species, trout or steelhead?
That one's a tough one, but growing up in Montana, it was trout. So again, love what you know. So it's gonna have to be trout for me.
Okay, brown trout or rainbows?
Brown trout.
Yeah.
Yep.
Brown trout are a lot bigger and a lot funner,
Yep.
I would assume.
Isn't there a weird thing about brown trout, like they're not native or something like that? I've been hearing.
Yeah, they're Germanic brown trout is like the full
Yeah.
name. So they all came from Europe. They're not in the United States.
And it's lake trout that are not a trout. They're a char, right?
Correct.
And are brown trout a char, or are they a trout?
They are a trout.
They're a trout.
Yep.
Okay. Wow.
Cool. All right. Favorite river system to fish?
Well, growing up in Montana, the Yellowstone River was near and dear to my heart. I went to high school in Livingston, Montana, where the Yellowstone River flows right behind it. So I would skip class to go fish it. Not that I recommend that, but
that's relatable.
Yep. So yeah, the Yellowstone River, both in Montana and then in Yellowstone National Park is a special place. That's probably my favorite spot.
That's cool.
All right. Your favorite weather preference? So rainy day, sunny day, cloudy day.
For fly fishing.
For fly fishing.
Bring on the elements. I want rainy, snowy, miserable weather.
Okay.
Everything except the wind.
Okay.
Fly fishermen
that makes sense.
We don't say wind when we're on the water. We say the W.
Yeah.
If you say wind, then it gets worse, and trying to cast a fly rod in the wind is a nightmare. So.
And what if you're fishing downwind?
Well, back cast, you still have
to flick it back. So
there's some scenarios where you can get away with it, but generally, not a good time. So.
Wow. Okay.
Good to know.
Yeah, because I'm also surprised by your answer. I thought you were gonna say sunny, still day, but you like the rain.
Yeah, I love the rain.
Okay.
Cloud cover. Fish are always more active when it's cloudy because of the the sun isn't revealing them as much, so they're a little more willing to come out and play. And especially the bigger, more predatorial fish, where they can ambush fish because they're kind of hiding in the dark a little bit more. And then bug activity is increased as well when it's cloudy and there's more moisture in the air. So
I wonder if it goes both ways, like they can't see us as well either.
Correct. Yep. You're not getting casting shadows and whatnot. So
yeah, because I know that's one thing with fly fishing and any kind of small river fishing is you're visible, right?
Yep.
Do you wear camo?
No.
Okay.
But I sometimes certain spots I fish, I do think about, I'm not going to wear my orange jacket.
Okay.
I'm going to try and wear a more neutral color. But
Cool.
Go ahead and check out the lifeoutdoors.org to learn more about what they do and who they are and what they have going on. They're based in Southern Oregon, but their reach is growing to other areas, and they have cool things like guilds and events and camps that they do to reach more people. So lifeoutdoors.org, that's outdoors with a Z. Then you can learn more about who they are. We also want to invite you to share this show with someone who you know that loves hunting and fishing. That way we can continue to grow, reach people, and share the love. That works, right? Yeah. And now it's time to get into the news. A woman was bitten by a bear in Gold Hill. That's down there in Nate Bailey's area, the Life Outdoors. They're right next door, right?
Yep.
So a young black bear was stuck behind a fence trying to get into a wooded area when cars started parking and lining up on the road to watch, and a few people decided to get out of their car and approach the cornered bear, and a woman had a dog treat. She decided to stick her hand out to feed the bear the dog treat, and she was bitten. The way the reporting says it was that it created a severe bite injury. And then after that, one of the people who was standing there pulled out his gun and shot the bear and killed it. That's the sad tale of the end of that young black bear. Kind of a ridiculous story, right? Those three people that were there with the bear, they're being charged for harassing wildlife. I'm surprised it wasn't more than that, considering, I don't know exactly where this happened, but if you say a fence, my mind goes to private property.
Right, yeah.
And I don't know, did he have his black bear tag? Like, or did he just self-defense maybe? I don't know. This is super fresh and there is an investigation ongoing, so maybe more charges will be added. But at this point, all three of them are being charged for harassing wildlife. And ultimately, if you think about it, they killed that bear for no reason, right?
Yeah. Well, it didn't need to happen. So
yeah,
wild animals are wild animals, people. So please don't go try and feed them.
Yeah. exactly. Let alone like while it's cornered.
Yeah.
Because I mean, any bear that I've ever encountered is running away from me as fast as it can. You know, like they're spooky. They do not like people at all.
No.
And so like,
very rarely are they going to come towards you if they know you're there.
And that's only if they're like habitualized, right?
Yeah.
Because people feed them or whatever. When you were in Montana, were you in grizzly country?
I was.
Yeah.
That's definitely something you got to think about a little more than black bears.
Yeah.
But generally, it's the same thing.
Oh, really?
Unless there's habitualized or there's a mom with cubs, like generally you just have to be smart and you don't necessarily have to worry about it too much. But
so don't corner a grizzly, let alone a black bear.
Yeah, not recommended.
Yeah.
You probably heard about that stuff a lot being near Yellowstone, right?
Definitely. Yeah. There's lots of stories, and come hunting season, it's the grizzly bears, they come running to the sound of a gunshot because they know there's an animal down. And so definitely every year it seems like there's a hunter that gets charged or attacked in some fashion from a grizzly.
Wow.
Trying to steal its
Kill.
Yeah.
Yep. Huh.
That's crazy.
Wow. So like, does it feel like a relief being here that you're not thinking about that? Because it's not even considerably worth
we don't have
thinking
grizzlies.
about. Like we don't.
Yeah, 100%. It's been so nice being out here. Right? Just tromping through and don't have to worry about anything. And there's obviously mountain lions and bears and stuff, but
sure.
For the most part, it's not something that I'm thinking about here. Where in Montana, most places, I was like, okay, what do I need to be aware of right now? So.
Do you still carry bear spray with you now, or did you even in Montana?
Only like in Yellowstone, I would carry bear spray, and a few other spots, especially if I'm going kind of off trail a good bit. But yeah, out here, I wouldn't consider it in any situation. I don't.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about that. I've only ever hunted in Western Oregon in my little neck of the woods, and 99% of my fishing as well is just around here. So there's a big world out there.
Yeah.
A
lot we don't have to be concerned about or worried about here in Oregon. So.
And if you don't want to get bitten by a bear, don't corner it and try to give it a dog treat. As cute as it is.
That's good advice.
Cute as it is. I mean, they're testing the bear for rabies, but this is completely normal bear behavior to bite when cornered, know?
Well, and if it's a young bear and probably has very little human contact, or maybe because it was an offense, maybe it has a lot of human contact. And
yeah, who knows?
Getting into trash cans and stuff, who knows? But
the way they described it is it was trying to get through the fence to a wooded area. That was like a specific line that I read. So it kind of paints a picture of a bear that doesn't want to be there,
right?
But can't get through a fence. And so obviously, and it was a small bear too. Otherwise, it probably could have gone right through the fence. Right? Yeah. Some of those bears are brutes. I mean, not super often, but we do get some really big bears out here in Oregon.
Yeah, there's been a few killed right in my area that I was like, how are you going to get that out of the woods?
Yeah.
Because they're so big.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, the next thing we wanted to talk about is the new ocean endorsement that is coming in 2026, which is going to be required for all saltwater fishing, excluding salmon and steelhead. And now when I read it, it looks like it's not including the bays is how I understood it. And so that means outside of the bays, so any jetty fishing, surf fishing, any ocean fishing, or anything like that in the salt water, you're now going to need the ocean endorsement. It might sound like a small thing, like a simple thing, but that's a pretty big deal because we've never had anything like that before. Like this is a brand new added licensing requirement.
Yeah, and it seems that they keep adding things with that they're not doing anything to make up for it. They're just making up things, it seems like sometimes, to just add more money. And it's getting kind of confusing. Like, okay, if you're adding this, why? Tell us the why you're adding this. Or are you going to do something in return for these extra endorsements?
Well, Jericho, it's funny you should ask. In the middle of editing this episode, I decided to do a little bit more research about this new ocean endorsement. And I had to delete about 10 minutes of conversation where we asked a lot of questions that I figured out the answers to, such as, why is this fee being added? Where is the money going? What are they going to do with it? We also had lots of gripes and groans about the cost of tags and licenses rising by a good amount. starting this January 2026 and increasing even more through 2028. One of our biggest concerns is the fact that there are so many disgruntled hunters and fishermen in Oregon who are unhappy with the results of what we're seeing from our game populations and fish populations, and the regulations getting tighter and tighter. At some point, it becomes pretty frustrating when you work so hard and you pay so much money and you come home seeing less and less game. Now, that's not the experience for everybody, and it varies by where you are in the state, and some of that just comes down to being a bad hunter and a bad fisherman, but we all want to know where our money's going, and it can be pretty frustrating when the cost continues to rise and the economy continues to get worse and things just get harder and harder. It's going to be really hard to buy the sports pack January 1 to continue duck hunting as the waterfowl season carries over the 31st. But back to the ocean endorsement, what I learned is that it is actually from a House bill. So I don't know how I missed this one. I didn't really hear much about it, but House Bill 2342, which was passed by the Oregon legislature just this year, 2025, and it is already available now because it is past December 1st, 2025. The license, the endorsement, is going to cost $9 a year, or you can buy it daily for $4. The reason why they passed it, supposedly, is that they wanted more guaranteed money to study rockfish populations as they create population models and set bag limits for rockfish. So that's really the key idea of why they want to do this and why they passed it. But once again, this is a legislation thing. This is a vote that was put up. So even if ODF&W didn't want to do it, they couldn't have said no. But I also guarantee you that they are not going to turn down free money. So we have the ocean endorsement coming. We have tags and license prices rising. Make sure you continue to do more research like I tried to do and figure out the truth of what's going on, where's our money going, and how can we continue to make things better and not worse and more fair for everybody. People are starting to get priced out, and so it's concerning. But let's get back to the lighter side of the news. The last thing on the news we want to talk about is the Sports Pack Slam. I just wrapped up my deer season without a deer. So that means I got the, Jericho called it the Sports Pack Scratch. Did not fill a single tag despite an investment of time and effort. Yeah. I made some decisions. I married myself to a couple spots that I should have been more fluid. You look back 2020 vision and always know there's like a lot of factors in hunting, and some are out of your control and some are in your control. And the frustrating thing is that a lot of times those factors that are out of your control are more important than the factors that are in your control. And so, anyway, I had a question to propose. Since some of the deer tags roll over past January, if someone kills a deer in February on a 2025 tag, should that count toward the 2025 Sports Pack Slam, or should it count toward the 2026 Sports Pack Slam? That's a tough one, right?
Yeah, I mean, like right now I have a 615 tag.
Yeah.
Right.
So you're hunting until February.
I can hunt till February.
And you can get a buck with that tag.
I can get a buck or a doe. So to me though, if I kill it before the end of this month, it would be this year's sports pack. Mm-hmm. Right. But if I killed it in 2026, it would be the start of your new attempt at the sports pack. Yeah, that's how I play it in my mind. The year I'm in would be the start of.
So not the year of the tag you've been issued, but the calendar day that you kill the animal.
Yeah.
Okay.
In my head, that's how I see it. I don't know.
Yeah. Colten, do you have any wisdom for us as we approach this issue?
No, I'm learning a lot here. So
okay.
A lot of this is new to me.
So the Sports Pack Slam is filling all 5 tags that are part of the sports pack. So turkey, deer, elk, cougar, and bear. And so if you do that, you've completed the Sports Pack Slam. Big deal. We have like a plaque and we're going to send you a shirt and, we're just
there's some money involved too.
There's some money, which I need to find out if this is 2025. So there's applications are open. I need to find out if that's going to be good for 2026 as well.
We'll see. We need to talk.
Yeah. We need to talk to Tyler. But anyway, yeah, there's a little bit of money thrown in there as well. And so it's kind of a fun thing. But it just made me wonder, I think there's a big benefit to doing it based off the calendar year for people who are trying, because if you got a 600 series tag, which are the antlerless tags, and most of them go into the following year, then you could get your deer out of the way in January.
Yeah.
And then when deer season comes, you could be focusing on, either cougar or bear instead if you didn't fill your spring bear tag.
Right.
So there's a big benefit to that I think would give people a leg up if they're going to really play the course.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And I mean, you and I were talking before this, but that tag, you can buy on your sports pack, like we were talking about the voucher. So if you use your voucher on that tag, I think it should count.
Yeah, because when you buy the sports pack, they give you vouchers because of you buy it before the draw is released. You know what I mean? Because they do the draw for all these different tags, and a lot of people like to wait to get their tag until they know if they've drawn or not. Because if you buy the general season tag, you can't buy your draw tag.
Got it.
So you get the sports pack, you get the voucher in the sports pack, and then you wait to see if you draw. Now, the thing I just learned from Jericho is that the sports pack voucher for a deer is not just the buck tags, but also the doe tags. You pick which one.
You get to designate what your voucher goes to. So, and then if you get a 600, you could still then purchase
with your
100
sports
series
pack
tag
that you've already purchased.
Yeah.
Oh, you can still, yes, because the 600. So the way it works too with the draw systems, they're assigned a number within a series. So for example, the 100 series of tags are for buck deer.
Yeah.
The 600 series of tags are for does. The confusing part is that some of the doe tags you can also use a buck, but not all of them. So like for example, the 200 series tags are elk.
Right.
And so they kind of split it up like that. So that's why if you get a 100 series tag, you can also get a 600 series tag, but you cannot get, this is confusing, you cannot get a 100 series tag and a general buck tag, because technically the general buck tag is a 100 series buck tag.
Back in the
day.
So
sorry to confuse you, Colten.
Complicated
stuff.
stuff.
Yeah. Back in the day, though, when you could get leftover tags in addition, you could get 200 series tags. But now they've done away with that. So you're allowed one 100 series tag and one 600 series tag.
Yep. Yeah, and they do that so generally for most people, you're going to get an opportunity for one deer, one elk. You could get an opportunity, though, easily for 3 bears and 2 cougars. But, one deer and one elk is what you get to pursue. Very special circumstances where you can get an additional deer, as in you drew a 600 series tag. And then also special circumstances. Actually, I don't even think you can go for 2 elk because your damage tag takes your elk tag.
Yeah, that's your tag.
So
there's the premium tags.
Okay, those are additional.
So those are additionals, but those would
very rare.
Those would not be on your sports pack. So
very rare to draw.
I think we need to make the rule that if you used your voucher on the tag, then it is good for the sports pack.
I like it.
Right? Because if you get 2 deer tags, right, the one that you didn't get on your sports pack that you didn't use your voucher for, I don't think we should count that.
Yeah.
Is that fair? I think that's very fair, right?
Very fair. And especially because it's the sports pack slam. It's not just a general Oregon big game slam or something, we're not throwing antelope in there.
Right.
Or whatever those things are, pronghorn,
Yeah. Yeah.
So okay, good.
So like for me, technically I bought my 600 in addition to my general archery.
Okay.
Or my, So it wouldn't count for me.
All right, let's put it to vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay.
Colton's like, what do I have to say?
All right. It has been set into stone. That is the rules of the sports pack slam. You have to get the tag from your voucher from your sports pack. in order for it to count toward the Sports Pack Slam.
There you go.
And it's based off the calendar day you kill it, not the year that the tag was issued.
Right.
I like
Sounds
it.
good.
We got it figured out. Because then we won't get some guys like in March telling us, oh, I did the 2025 Slam. I killed my deer February 28th, you know?
Yeah.
Because that would just be kind of frustrating. I'm hoping to be done with 2025 by then. So
yeah, calendar year.
Okay, I love it. Well, let's get into our conversation with Colten Holdorf. It's a cool last name. What's it from?
German.
German.
Yep.
All right.
There's a town in Germany, Holdorf. That's about all I know about it, but I know there's that much.
So that's why you like the brown trout.
Yeah.
Kindred spirits
we'll
there.
Go with that.
The Germanic brown trout.
That's
and
cool.
The Germanic Colten Holdorf. So why don't you share with us your favorite hunting or fishing story?
Yeah, there's a lot to choose from. I think one of the ones that comes to mind right away is this tradition that my younger brother and I had. Goes back about 10 years or so, where we would do this thing called the bro trip. And
that's awesome.
Originated in late winter, early spring, when the fishing and other opportunities are kind of limited. And so we would try and go somewhere to go on this overnight fishing trip. And started on the Bighorn River in Montana, and then was the Missouri River for a little bit. But that kind of just developed over the years. And then my sister got married, and we started including my brother-in-law in that. And so then it was even more of a bro trip.
Yeah.
And but this last bro trip was really special. My brother-in-law just had a baby and so we were in Montana for that, and my brother came up from North Carolina. And so we were all there together. It was the first time we had been able to actually do the bro trip in a while. And we went into the backcountry of Yellowstone and got a fish together.
Oh, nice.
Fishing this body of water that near and dear to my heart. And my younger brother caught a 25-inch Yellowstone cutthroat. And
nice.
It was an epic day of fishing.
That's a good fish, dude.
It was a sweet fish. It was cherry on top of an incredible day. And
I didn't realize they even got that big. I'm not going to lie to you. That is a good fish.
Yep. Yeah, that's a really good fish.
Yep. It was a special fish. The backstory is I missed that fish earlier in the day. Came up and ate my fly on the top of the water, and I missed the hook set.
That same fish.
Theoretically.
Same
like
exact
size. Same size.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
And so it was
so you're
really
saying you
cool.
missed the hook set.
Yep.
So he grabbed your fly and you...
Yep, I yanked it out of his mouth before he had a chance to fully get it, and kind of was like, wow, that was a large fish. Probably never going to get a shot at that again. And then later in the day, my brother caught the fish, and it was just a special moment. And remember after letting the fish back, and just kind of, we all just were looking at each other, and just like, that was what it was all about right there.
Nice.
And gave my brother a big old hug, and it was just a special moment. That was
that's awesome.
That I'll cherish for a long time.
That's super cool, man. Wow. Yeah, I love that. And the thing I've noticed as people share their favorite hunting and fishing experience, it's like almost always has to do with some sort of family, you know, or like close friend aspect, like doing it together.
About the people you're with.
Yeah, it's always better when you're with somebody, because then you get to share that experience with them.
Yeah, a lot of them are father-son stuff too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
A lot of the time. Yeah. So you moved to Oregon for work, but for, you know, your mission field.
Yep.
Do you kind of feel like you're a missionary? Is that how you see it, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And I've had to change my perspective on that, to where initially I viewed myself as a fly fishing guide that did this kind of missionary work on the side.
Yeah.
But definitely have had a change of heart in that, and the Lord has really worked in my heart in that, where no, that's not what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm not a fly fishing guide. I have a further purpose in my life than that. So
wow, that's cool, man.
Yeah,
that's really cool. So coming from Montana to Oregon, how do the fly fishing outdoor opportunities compare?
It's definitely an adjustment, and in Montana, we don't have salmon steelhead, and that's like one of the first things that jumps out.
Oh, you guys don't have steelhead either?
No, there's some, stocked kokanee stuff in some areas and whatnot, but nothing like out here. And especially in the area that I grew up, there was no salmon. So that is the major thing I think that jumps out right away.
Okay.
And, you talk about fishing for trout out here, and oftentimes people are like, oh, well, have you caught a steelhead?
Yeah.
Like, why would you want to catch a trout when you catch a steelhead?
That's so true. That's so true. Like, I think of, man, you're right, man. Like, trout is very, as much as it's loved, it's kind of unloved in a broad sense.
Yeah. When we think of trout in Oregon, we think of the stocked
like stalkers
fish in the lakes and the ponds. We don't think about the wild trout in the river or the.
I think that coastal run cutthroat is kind of like a trophy fish, right? But then it's
very much a seasonal, like, well, there's nothing else to do, so I guess we'll go catch trout. So that's an adjustment, because in Montana, trout is everything. And
trout is trout. Okay.
Yep, trout is king out here. Kings are king.
That's true.
That's been a big difference, but there's still so much water out here in Oregon, in Montana as well. There's water everywhere. But out here in Oregon, it feels like you got to work a little bit harder to find the fish, both physically and there's blackberries, and you have to figure out how to get to the water first, and then if you can get to the water. Where Montana feels maybe a little more open and just you can find the water a little bit easier. But in here in Oregon, it's you might have to drive an hour to go find a spot, and then once you get there, you gotta really bushwhack to get down to it or something like that. So, which can be more rewarding at times, honestly, rather than just pulling off at a pull out alongside the road and hopping onto the river. So, yeah.
So, what are the stream access laws? How do they differ between Oregon and Montana?
Super similar, where you have the high water mark.
Yep.
Allows you access, and then any bridge in Montana on a navigable body of water gives you access to the water, and then once you're in the water, you can walk along the stream bed or the high water mark to traverse the body of water. So similar.
So you're saying any bridge, you can go under the bridge and then access that way?
Yeah, there's an access point on at least one of the corners of the bridge to the body of the water.
That's a Montana thing.
Yeah.
Have you seen anything like that here?
I don't think so.
Because I've seen people climbing under the bridges, but I never really thought it was a legitimate protected thing.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not sure the full rules on it here in Oregon, but there's probably some difference there. But
some states have really weird access rules, like if you touch the bottom of it, you're trespassing, but if you're floating, you're not.
Yeah, like Wyoming is that way. It blows my mind. I don't know how you're supposed to fish effectively without being able to anchor up or anything or get out of the boat.
Yeah, I think that's what stops a lot of guys from fishing, is because it's so confusing. Like, what do I do here?
I feel like the trappers were probably facing that until, unfortunately, didn't they ban beaver trapping on public land last year? That happened.
That's my understanding. I haven't read what it actually entails.
For me, because we're guaranteed allowed access on what they consider historically navigable rivers, and we have a lot of those around, and sometimes I'm surprised by the things that they consider navigable, but I'm happy for it because I benefit from it. I'm sure that the private landowners who put up all their no trespassing signs along the creeks don't feel the same way, but what I do, because I use Onyx maps, and you can kind of tell when one's navigable, because the property lines on the map that comes from the county records don't meet over the creek.
Right.
They actually they go to the edge of the creek. And so there's a lot of places that if I'm curious, I'll pull up my map and I'll see, the property line doesn't meet in the middle. The property line ends in the creek and ends in the creek. And then that tells me, okay, so that's public water.
Right.
Kind of a good way to know. Do you use any kind of mapping thing, or do you just go for it?
Yeah, there's an app called On Water, which I think is in the same realm as
Sounds
Onyx.
Like it.
I think they're even together. It's like the fishing version of
Wouldn't
Onyx.
Surprise me.
So I use that one occasionally.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so you were doing a Christian outdoor camp before you came here, right?
Yeah.
How did you find 2 jobs in the outdoor ministry space? I think Jericho's a little jealous of you.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah, initially you just want to say luck, but ultimately I think it comes down to just blessing of the Lord, and there's no other explanation for it. Just his goodness, and feel super grateful and blessed that I was able to just fall into those positions more or less. That's how it feels. So
yeah.
Is that something you always felt called to or led to, or were you just, I love the outdoors, I want to find work in that and something I can do ministry at the same time?
Yeah, honestly, the first opportunity I had to work at this retreat place, my wife, my girlfriend at the time, tagged me in this Facebook post for that this place was their ad saying, "Hey, come be a fly fishing guide for this ministry."
Wow.
And she tagged me in that Facebook post. I called the number that was attached to that Facebook post later that day, and at the end of that phone call, the guy offered me a job, basically.
Wow.
And
just based off the phone call.
Just based off the phone call.
Did he tell you if he got any other calls or interest?
I didn't hear about that. No.
Sure.
But it was
part of it was the end of a phone call.
Yep.
Wow.
They needed bodies, and I was a body, and then I also had fishing experience, so that was like.
And this was a paid job?
Paid job. Yep.
Yeah.
Small paid job.
Sure. Yeah.
A stipend more than anything. But yeah, that was the intro into it. And it was just like, so I didn't necessarily have this like, oh, this is what I want to do. But then when it came up as an opportunity, and like I had mentioned before, it was very much like, oh, I'm going to be a fly fishing guide for this ministry. That's awesome. That's cool. And then as it developed, I really have been able to solidify like, oh, I get to use what I'm passionate about, fishing, for what my calling is, what the Lord has called me to, being a servant and taking care of others through the outdoors. So
yeah,
that's cool.
Super
that's
blessed
awesome.
to be in that position.
Did you like start doing any kind of schooling or anything after public school, or did you just fly guide? That's what I'm going to be.
I went to Montana State for a few semesters.
Okay.
Trying to study fish and wildlife biology because I wanted a job that was going to try and get me on the water, and pretty quickly realized that probably not going to be on the water a lot, especially going to school. And so it was a relationship where it was, oh, this is rough. I'm going to go back and work construction, which is what I was doing for my dad at the time. And then work is hard. I'm going to go back and go to school, and then did that for a while. And then finally had the opportunity to go work at the ministry. So
yeah,
that's awesome.
Great. When did you start fly fishing, like in general?
As far as I can remember, it was probably 8 or 9 years old.
Wow. So you're from a fly fishing family then?
Yep. My dad would take us out, and, I started off with like the Spider-Man rod with a bobber, but he would put a fly under the bobber.
Oh, he would.
And we'd go catch bluegill or bass at the local pond. And that kind of.
See, I never made it past that stage.
It works. So sometimes you don't need to get too far past it, but and then as soon as I could cast a fly rod regularly without too much assistance, I started doing that. So.
Yeah. Well, we already kind of explained, I don't remember if it was in the recording or pre-recording, about Jericho's experience with fly fishing, right? Jericho is hooking a...
Very, very limited to the Dayton boat ramp, fishing with a little grub worm for bass. So.
And so, but you said that you had like a fly setup that you were putting... Yeah,
so my dad had ordered some fly rods from Corvallis out of the catalog, and and got them, and just he's like, well, I don't really know how to fly fish, so he's like, I know how to fish with these, so let's put one of these on. So he put one of those on, and we were just flipping worms, and
it was working.
Caught a few.
Yeah. There you go.
So my fly fishing experience kind of similar, but I actually used flies, and I bought like a fly combo from Walmart for like $30, and it came with some flies, and I quickly whipped those things to pieces. And so then I took an old battery powered drill and took the battery off of it and screwed it onto a piece of plywood. And then I had that as my vise, and I'd buy these tiny hooks that were probably like just little tiny bait holder hooks.
Yeah.
And I'd, use the drill as a vise, and I would get feathers from my chickens to tie some flies.
Yeah.
And I caught bluegill with those.
There you go.
And then the other thing I did was I had some cork poppers flies, and that's what I caught the smallmouth with, was popping those on top of the water, which was super cool, because that was actually my first successful topwater fishing in general, was those poppers. But then at the end of the summer, I lost the middle section of my fly rod, and then I never picked it up again. So
yeah, I had a teacher. I actually had an outdoor survival class in public school. It was pretty cool.
That's cool.
It was an elective, and so we had a teacher come in. He was also my hunter safety teacher when I was 12. But
who is this guy?
His name was Jim Conley. He passed away this year. But
oh, really? Okay.
He had been a teacher at Dayton for a really long time. He loved hunting and fishing, and so
that's cool.
He came in and he showed us how to make some flies, and we got to make flies for class, and elk hair flies, I think is what they were. But
elk hair caddis.
Yeah. So it was fun. Got to learn to do that. I tried to do it at home a little bit later, but nothing turned out very good. So, but it was a cool experience getting to make something and then try to go fishing with it.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But like I said, I can't cast a fly rod, so
Oh man, what you just said gave me like a flashback of a time when I was like 16. This was like right around the time I was trying to do the fly fishing thing, and I saw a dead rotten deer on the side of the road, and I jumped out. I told my buddy, pull over. He was driving. Jumped out. I cut the tail off of it and threw it in the back of his truck, and then we went along our day. And completely forgot about the deer tail. Oh. And he sent me a picture of this rotten deer tail with the hair falling off of it. And he said, "Do you want this?" I'm like, no, I don't.
No.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's funny. But I wanted to share Jericho and I's experience just so you know where we're coming from, and also for the listener to know that our line of questioning about fly fishing is going to be very basic. We're not experts, sort of a beginner level view into it.
Yeah.
So first of all, now that you've been fishing in Oregon for a few years, what are the kinds of trout you're targeting?
Yeah, like you'd mentioned earlier, the coastal cutthroat. Those are in.
Oh, so you have been going after those?
Yeah, they're in every body of water almost out here.
Really?
If there's moving water, or it doesn't even have to be moving all the time, there's coastal cutthroat there.
The coastal run cutthroat trout.
Yeah, not the sea run ones, but the coastal. So
I was confusing myself there with that name.
Yep, the non-sea running coastal cutthroat.
Okay.
So you have the sea run cutthroats. They're the sea running version of the coastal cutthroat, but then there's just the coastal cutthroat that don't go out to the ocean.
Okay.
And they're in a lot of bodies of water out here. And so honestly, it's not a lot of situations where I'm specifically targeting them, but you always end up catching them.
Okay.
So that's one. And then
how big do those ones get?
They don't get huge. A 12-inch coastal cutthroat is like that's a big one, but 6 to 10 inches is kind of a normal size range.
Okay. And
then the wild rainbows are obviously one that you target, and then the planted rainbows as well is another fish species.
When you say a planted rainbow, are you saying that they plant those in creeks and streams, or where are you targeting them? Yeah,
like for the Mackenzie River, for example, that's a river that I fish a lot, where they put a lot of fish into that river. Rainbows into that river, and there's sections where they plant it, and then there's sections where they don't plant it. And so in the sections generally where they aren't planting the fish, you'll get more of the wild rainbows that are in the Mackenzie, and then where they plant it, you tend to just mostly catch just the wild or the stalkers, and then there's some mixed in coastals and rainbows in the mix as well.
So then with that, I'm real curious, the coastal cutthroat that are not the sea run cutthroat, where are they spawning, and what's their life cycle? Are they leaving their creek system, or do they just live 100% in their system?
Yeah, they're pretty much living in the system that they were born in, and they might go into some different types of water in the creek to go spawn, most likely, but generally there's no migration. Not really migrating too far to do any spawning. And same with the wild rainbows. They might be going into a side channel or a smaller creek that feeds in just a little bit, but generally they're spawning in the main river system.
Is it easy to tell the difference between because they're genetically the same, like a wild rainbow and a like small steelhead?
Yeah, no, that's not easy to tell. I honestly, because
they're the same, right?
Yeah.
Because I know for like the regulation standpoint, if it's over 24 inches, it's a steelhead, which is kind of crazy that that's a magic number where it suddenly changes the regulations.
It might even be, I think think it's less than that.
Less,
I think
it's 16.
16 inches, yeah, I think.
Oh, well,
I think it's 16. I think it depends on what side of the Cascades you're on too, because the difference like Deschutes and then over here like Santiam or
so 16. Okay,
it depends on what body of water you're on. Yeah.
Well, I've definitely caught an 18-inch rainbow that is not a steelhead.
It just grew big enough. That's what I was going to ask, is if that ever has happened.
Well, that was what I was going to ask you with the cutthroat too. Can you tell the difference between a sea run and a one that is not?
I haven't caught enough of the sea running cutthroat to really have a good idea. But generally the sea runs get a little bigger.
Okay.
And the kind of water that you catch them in, you can kind of distinguish, okay, that one's probably a sea run versus a coastal. And they fight a little bit harder because they're an ocean fish.
Right.
And so that's one way, is just kind of they'll be a little bigger and a little more spunky.
But their colors are the same.
Pretty
it's not like,
similar. There'll be a little different fade to them, but again, I haven't caught enough to really get it dialed in yet. So.
Yeah, because when those salmon and steelhead come out of the river, they're like bright, compared to like, so interesting.
Well, and I've heard those sea run can go out and back a couple times in their life cycle, right? So I fished the Nesteco a little bit for them, just casting lures, but I've never really targeted them too hard.
Yeah.
So those trout that are living their whole life in one creek, they're not like ever touching bigger rivers. They're not, if you follow let's say for example, a mountain creek that drains into the Willamette, they're not touching the Willamette ever. They're staying in the whatever river system it is they're in.
I don't know fully on that, but I would say, like, especially on some of the bigger bodies of water, like the Mackenzie that dumps into the Willamette, I know fish will kind of transfer around right in between the Mackenzie and the Willamette, where they might be going upstream a little bit. And, a lot of it has to do with the water temperature.
Sure.
So as the water temperature is increasing, you're going to see those fish start to move towards colder water. And so sometimes that might mean going into a mountain stream or the Mackenzie or something like that. Or it might just mean heading further up the larger body of water to find some colder, cleaner water.
And that's cool. Because like you said, trout fishing doesn't get as much love as, steelhead especially.
Yep.
Have you done any successful fly fishing for steelhead?
A little bit, yeah.
That's cool.
It's one of those things where
it seems really tough.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't get a lot of feedback a lot of times, where you don't know if you're doing something wrong and that's why you're not catching fish, or if it's just sometimes steelhead fishing's hard. And so on the fly rod, they call them the fish of 1,000 casts. And
they do. Okay.
So you can make 1,000 casts and you could be making 1,000 perfect casts, and it's not until the 1,000th one that you actually catch a fish. And so it's hard to know. It's like, am I doing something wrong, or is it just I need to make more casts? And so that's that definitely is one of the challenging things with it. That can be a little intimidating, I think, of like, well, I'm not going to try because I don't know how, or you maybe you fish a whole season and the run's just bad, and so you won't get anything. So yeah.
Wow. So do you ever go east, or are you sticking in the Coast Range?
I'll go east a little bit. I've done some stuff on the Deschutes.
Yeah, cool.
And so that's
I feel like that's a steelhead fly fishing hotspot, isn't it?
Yes. Yep, definitely. And it's so cool just think about how far those fish have to come for that, and
it's really cool, dude.
The trek that they make, and
to go over the Cascades, or around it, past it, through it, is amazing.
Yep.
Super cool.
Yep.
I mean, they've got to be going through some obstacles to get there, right?
Yep.
Do they have to go above the dam to get, where's the Deschutes?
Yeah, they have
there's
to
several
go above
dams.
Bonneville and John Day.
Yep. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yep, through the fish ladders.
Things are going out there.
Shoots just before John Day. I can't remember in my head now.
I can't remember. Yeah.
Somebody correct us.
They're going through a lot of slack water. They're going over the biggest dam in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, they're coming from the mouth of Columbia.
Yeah.
All the way up and
right past Astoria.
Yeah.
Through the gauntlet.
Yeah.
Amazing. So you also have a drift boat.
I do. Yep.
What do you like better, drift boat or wading?
That's a tough question. I really love being able to take people fishing out of the drift boat, where you have an opportunity to get them out on the water. There's no trees behind them. There's not any obstacles, and you're right on top of the water, so you don't have to cast as far. And you can cover so much water in a drift boat, where you're floating. You can float 10 miles in a day, where maybe if you're just on foot, you're covering 2 or 3 miles and working a lot harder to do that. But when you are just wading, you have a lot more opportunity to really pick the water apart, and you get more opportunity to fish it consistently. And I didn't quite like that drift, so I'm gonna cast again. Where in a boat, you have one shot and you float by, and then in a lot of scenarios, that's the only opportunity you get. So
then you're just done.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there's a give and a take. For me, if I'm going out on my own, I'm just gonna wade fish, because then I don't have to worry about rowing the boat and fishing and all this stuff. And so it's just a little bit more of an intimate encounter when you're wading, which can be something that people really enjoy, feeling the water on your legs and getting in the water and things like that.
So there's no version of fly fishing where you're like ever leaving it in the water, even from a boat. You're not like back trolling with flies, right? Like it's constantly casting on the boat.
You definitely can. You can troll with them, but and that's the thing that the style that I like to use my boat for is, so you'll have someone cast, and then you just drift. That's why they call them a drift boat. So you get it cast out there, and then ideally, in the perfect scenario, you could float 100 feet with just that fly cast, floating all the way through. And that's the advantage of the drift boat, where in wade fishing, you can only maybe get a 20-foot drift because you're stationary. Yeah. But when you're moving with the water, it allows that longer drift, which that's one of the main goals of fly fishing is a long drift.
Yeah, and I could see that, but then the downside of that is, like you said, you're passing through each hole once, and then it's like if your tiny little fly didn't get
over
seen,
the top of their head.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Wow. So are you doing a lot of like looking ahead, trying to see where you want it to be and stuff, kind of planning that out?
Yep. Always looking downstream for where the seams are, where the fish might be, where the structure is, and a lot of times there's some runs that you can actually go back up and row back up and hit it again. And so you're kind of anticipating that, where I'm going to fish this first pass on the inside, and then I'm going to row up again, and then I'll fish it in the middle, and then row up again, and then fish on the outside. So there are opportunities to work the water a little more thoroughly, but always looking downstream, trying to anticipate what's coming up.
But then obviously, like, you can't do that in fast water. Like,
I'm not re-rowing in the faster stuff.
Yeah.
That's the difference out here.
Unless you're like a superhuman.
That's get dicey too. Rowing up fast stuff or getting sideways and
oh man, because it grabs the side of your boat and spins you around. One thing about like the salmon fishing world is it kind of feels like a community, and like especially on the industry side and especially on the guide side, but even just like everyone who salmon fishes kind of sees themselves as like a part of this group of salmon fishermen. Does that kind of thing exist in the fly fishing world?
Yeah, I would definitely say there's a bit of a community that when you're in the fly fishing world, you're in the fly fishing world. And there's downsides to that too, where it's, you're not, you don't have the nice gear, so you're kind of a subpart.
Yeah.
And that's with anything. You're always going to have some of that elitist mindset maybe within individual activity or sport. But overall, I would say there's definitely you fly fish? I fly fish. That's awesome. Like instant connection point. And
instant brotherhood.
Yep.
Yeah. So then like what's the basis of that? Is it industry? I don't think industry is quite as big for fly fishing, right? But you work at a fly shop. Yeah. So you see that side of it then. Is the fly shop kind of like the root of the fly fishing community?
Yeah, it's a spot where people are coming and like connecting and building that relationship, developing that, getting a feel for what's out there, who's out there, and a great way to get information as well. And that's, that community really is formed in the fly shop. In the fly shop or on the river would be the main two ways, obviously. And so.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool. Do you like working at the fly shop?
I do.
I guess you can't say too much, right? You don't want to offend anybody, but
I really do it. I'm just there one day a week, and so it's super easy where I can just have to show up one day a week. But really love the owner of the fly shop there. Great relationship with him. And
what's the name of the shop?
Watershed Fly Shop.
Cool.
Yep, Corvallis, Oregon.
Name. Yep. Yeah.
So I feel super great, and that you do get that community from there. You get to know people, you make connections there, and then you see people out on the river, or you see them in town that you met at the fly shop, and so it's a good connection point for sure.
Yeah, trying to understand the fly fishing community as an outsider, one of the things that I see is like this very strong and protected like catch and release type culture. Is that like, could you maybe speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's a tricky thing at times. Kind of talking about like the salmon, steelhead versus trout thing.
Sure,
I think where a lot of fly fishing has its roots in trout fishing,
right?
And a lot of the places where you're fishing for trout, there might be more protected or more areas that are, like Yellowstone National Park, where you're not allowed to keep fish and things like that.
Or then they have the regulations where you can't even fish for them during the hot times of the day.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. They'll close it down. And so I think the trout are sensitive. And so I think there's a reflection of that sometimes on the person targeting the fish. And so that perspective of, you have to baby the fish and all this stuff. But I mean, they're dropping these fish out of helicopters to stock them at times, so it's like, they're a little more resilient than I think we give them credit for at times. But when you're in areas where you want to, hey, I want to go and catch this fish next year. Yeah. There is an aspect to it where I think people are like, hey, I want another opportunity to enjoy this fish, or I want other people to have an opportunity to join this fish, where I think, with the salmon steelhead, it's like, hey, I'm trying to put food on the table.
Right.
And so you're like, whatever it takes, by all means, I'm trying to get food on the table, where that's just not something that fly fishermen, I think, are always thinking about. It's more about on the move. And that's something that, like, I don't keep a lot of trout because, one, I don't really like the taste of trout, to be ironically.
Really?
But,
well, then don't keep them for sure.
and it's a lot of work. Where I'm always on the move when I'm fishing, especially if I'm wade fishing, where I'm going to be walking up the river.
So you don't want to carry them with you.
I don't want to carry them with me, and then I have to worry about keeping them fresh and all that stuff. And so it's just easier not to, honestly. That's one of the main reasons why I don't. And so,
Yeah. Wow. Do you have any inputs on that kind of line of questioning?
Well, I think it's just like any type of hunting. You have your groups inside the larger hunting community.
Oh, yeah.
And same with fishing. You have your bass fishermen, your fly fishermen, your salmon, steelhead fishermen. They're always going to be a little closer, the guys that do the same thing. Yeah. But they could still relate to everybody that's fishing or hunting.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like hound guys, I mean, it's a tight group of hound guys.
Yeah. Because it's the specific pursuit.
And it's
duck
specific
hunters,
duck hunters. You have the same thing. So I think it's just similar to that. And
super interesting to me. I'm always like super intrigued by like the I don't know what to call it, the culture aspect of each thing. Cause there is a stereotype for a reason of, whether it's bass fishermen or fly fishermen or duck hunters or houndsmen, like because of these, it's like a subculture within a subculture.
Right.
Super interesting. So like fly fishing generally feels like it's separate from the rest of the fishing community. But then now that we're saying all this other stuff, I'm saying, oh yeah, but then there's like, it's just another one of the pockets. Cause there's like the bass fishing, like we already said, catfishing, bow fishing.
Right.
I feel like bow fishing is even more on the outs than fly fishing. Yeah. As far as the general fishing culture.
Target.
Yeah. So it's interesting.
Yeah. And if, you said growing up in Montana, my understanding is there's a lot of rivers you can't use conventional tackle and stuff, right?
Yeah. So, there might be regulations where it's, single hook only or barbless or fly fishing specific only. And so that does obviously limit the opportunity.
So fly fishing kind of becomes a necessity if you want to go fishing, right? In some of those streams. So, you tend to lean towards what you grew up around or what you
100%.
What like if my grandpa wouldn't have had hounds, I would never have had hounds.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right? So,
yeah.
Yep. I fly fish because my dad fly fish.
Right. Exactly. So
I didn't grow up in a hunting or a fishing family, so my dad would ocean fish. That's what he would do.
Okay.
And I've never set foot in a tuna boat, so I mean it's kind of funny. But yeah, I agree with what you guys are saying. I just wanted to throw that out there. I think it's kind of funny.
Yeah, but later in life you started hanging around people that hunt and fish, and that you got dragged into it. So.
Dude, I dove into it. Yeah, I ran full speed into it.
I guess dragged into it wouldn't be the right word.
There wasn't much drag. Oh no, I'm being drugged, Yeah. So, and as we're talking about this, I was kind of trying to relate it to something. I think the way that I feel about fly fishing is the way that I feel about traditional archers. Do you kind of see that, Jericho?
Yeah, I see that.
It's like, I feel like it's less tech related, you know? Like it's more simple, maybe? Simple
in gear, probably, but
gear's what I'm talking about.
I think it is more technical in the sense of it's a very learned skill.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. It's that, and like kind of like we're talking about with the bow fishing earlier, where there's the hunt, it's about the pursuit, and where with archery, from what I know about it, it's you have to get close enough, and there's all these components that are going into it, and same with fishing, where it's not just with a conventional rod, you can cast that thing out way further than a lot of situations with the fly rod.
Oh yeah.
And so, but with the fly rod, it's like, okay, I have to get close enough and I have to do this. And then once you get all the things aligned, then it's like, okay, now I'm going to make a cast. Where, with archery, it's the same thing. It's like, you're not going to take a shot unless it's the perfect scenario. Right. And so there's probably some crossover with that.
Yeah. And especially with traditional stuff. I mean, you're very limited to your range. You're very limited to your arrow size and gear and stuff. And so I think it's more technical in that sense, but not necessarily technical in gear and stuff.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What, to kind of continue on, talk about fly fishing, what is kind of the smallest stream that you can fly fish?
If there's fish in it, if it'll hold fish, you can fly fish it.
So like I'm thinking the issue of trees and everything getting hung up, like, is there workarounds for that?
Yeah, there's shorter rods, there's casting techniques, there's certain, angles and things that you can do in order to get down to it. And then at a certain point, you're really not even casting. You're kind of just dropping your fly into the water and trying to target fish that way. But yeah, that is something to consider, as the vegetation and the area around the body of water. That can be a limiting factor for sure. But if you can get a fly in the water, and if the fish has enough water to live in it, there's no reason you can't fly fish for it. So.
Okay. Yeah. So like, you're just so skilled that if you can be in a tunnel of blackberry bushes, you'll get it in there.
Oh yeah. Never get caught in a tree, or never lose a fly. Oh, totally.
Yeah, that's good. So then how does fly fishing, like, and now moving away from like the physical restrictions, but even just the presentation of your fly and what kind of fly you choose, how does that change from a little creek to like a bigger river?
Yeah, there's things like with a smaller body of water, a small creek, it'll be very clear where the fish are, because there's only so much water that a fish can actually be holding in. Where a bigger body of water, there's a little more interpretation that you have to do. You have to kind of read the water in a way to where, okay, there's a rock here and then there's a seam here, and so okay, the fish are probably gonna be sitting here, or they could be anywhere, because some bodies of water, it's all fishy, and so trying to read the water can be a little bit more difficult on a bigger body of water. But also sometimes there's more features to where it actually, okay, they're not going to be in this really slack water over here. They're going to be in this current seam here. And so it can be a little more intuitive, but it also might take a little bit more skill in reading the water on where the fish might actually be on a bigger body of water.
Yeah. Wow. What's like, because whenever I think of fly fishing, I'm thinking about that shallow water, but like, what's sort of the limit on that? As far as how deep can you fish, or if you're fishing a big body of water, do you just stick to the shore only type stuff because you're looking for you're trying to hunt the fish, right? You're not just trolling something through a whole body of water. You're like targeting, like how does that work?
Yeah, there's definitely certain tactics, like you can fish with sinking line and then a super heavy jig fly.
Oh, you can?
Yep. And so you can target deeper down, where like Pyramid Lake is an example down in Nevada that I'll go down to, and you get on a little float tube and you're just kicking with your flippers and you cast out, you let your line sink, and then you'll feel the bottom, it might be 20 feet. You
can't see the
30,
bottom.
Yep.
So you're blind fishing.
30, 40 feet down maybe.
Wow.
And you'll then kind of feel the bottom, and then you start kicking, and then you're trolling, and you just feel the bottom, and then you'll give your rod a little lift. So just jigging your streamer off the bottom.
Wow.
And so yeah, like something like that is totally doable, where you are blind fishing. And so not every fly fishing scenario it's not like you're seeing the fish, but and so that's an example where you could get super deep out on the water, less on the bank. But
do you personally ever fish any big bodies of water? Like you said, you Pyramid Lake, but like around here, or are you looking for creeks and rivers instead?
I definitely tend to gravitate towards the smaller creeks and bodies of water like that. Lakes are just harder to fish because you're not seeing where the fish are. You have to kind of know what the depth is at. You have to know where the structure is. Yeah. And overall, I think fish in lakes they're all over the place. It's harder to gauge where they're at. And so you are blind fishing so much of the time. So I tend to gravitate towards a body of water where I can have a better idea on where the fish might exactly be at. So.
Okay. And what like is the main thing about fly fishing for you that is unique? Like, why do you love fly fishing? What's the thing that keeps you going in it?
Yeah, I think it's that treasure hunt. You're always after. You never know what's going to be on the end of your line, and it's kind of this mystery that you get to discover. And it's also a constant exercise. You're always casting. You're always moving to the next spot. You're always on the move, and you're always kind of in pursuit of the next thing. And for me, that allows like me to just be entirely focused. You can't think about anything else but fishing when you're fly fishing. Yeah. And so it allows me to kind of just clear the mind a little bit and dial in and really focus fully on the task ahead of me. And so that's one of the things I really enjoy about it. It's a opportunity to just get after it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's good. One of the things about our podcast is we always want some sort of applicable tips for the listener, so we've kind of been talking a lot of high-minded thoughts of fly fishing, but we do want to ask you some specific questions. And coming from our perspective as beginners, I'm looking for some getting started tips. And so, Jericho, would you mind taking them through the tips section?
First question we'd like to ask is what to look for in a fly rod and reel. So if you're just getting started, what should you look for?
First question that I would ask myself is, what do you want to target?
Okay.
What you want to be targeting? Salmon, steelhead? Do you want to be targeting bluegill? Do you want to be targeting trout, bass, whatever that might be? And then from there, you can kind of make your next move. And there'll be a lot of crossover in a lot of situations where you can use one rod for multiple things. But kind of that'll be the first step. What body of water and what kind of fish are you trying to target? And then from there, kind of like a price point is like, because you can spend thousands of dollars on this stuff. And then you can spend,
I can't spend
$30 Walmart.
Maybe someone else can. Yeah,
exactly. But the general kind of way that I like to look at it is start off. You don't need to spend $1,000 right off the bat. You definitely can, and you're probably not going to regret it, but you don't need to spend that kind of money right off the bat. And so thinking about, hey, what rod has a good warranty? That's ironically something that I think about a lot, because fly rods break. Like you mentioned, you lost the piece. Well, if that rod was under warranty, then you can get that thing fixed up for, generally they have like a small fee on most of the major rod companies. And so then you get right back in the game. And so
that's really good to know.
Yeah. The warranty is like, that's huge. And right now a lot of the rods are built with the same blanks, the same components, and then they're just finished differently. So one way to distinguish certain rods is, hey, what company has the best warranty? And so that's one way to look at it is how can I ensure that I'm going to have this rod for the future? And if something goes wrong, then I'm going to be taken care of and have a rod to fish in X amount of weeks to get back on it. So that's something I think about, is the warranty, and the price point, and then what I'm going to target and from there.
The reason why what you're targeting matters, is it more because of where they live, or is it more because of how you're fishing for them?
Yeah, how you're fishing for them. So there's like a weight range between fly rods where you have like a 0 weight, which isn't, something that you'll see in fly shops very often, but then it'll go all the way up to, a 16 weight, which you're like catching, tuna or marlin on.
Oh, wow.
So again, like a very, very niche situation where you're never going to see one of those in a fly shop. But so generally a 5 weight fly rod is kind of the entry level where most people start in at for trout. If you want a rod just for salmon steelhead, then you'll have like an 8 weight fly rod is kind of a general entry point there. Yeah. And some of it comes down to preference, what you're feeling. And, but most people start off with a 9-foot 5 weight fly rod. Okay. That's kind of the bread and butter, gets you started, covers a lot of ground for you. And so that's a general starting point.
That'd be good for like regular trout fishing.
Yep, regular trout.
Bluegill maybe.
Yep, small creeks, bass, things like that.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Cool. That's a good tip.
Yeah, thank you.
What about the reel though? Are those all kind of like whatever you can afford type thing?
Yeah. So the reel, ironically, just in a lot of situations, especially for trout, it's just a line holder. It just holds the line on the reel, where you're not reeling in the fish when you're fighting it. Most of the time, you're just kind of stripping the line back in.
Yeah.
And so the reel isn't as important in a lot of situations. But now when you start talking about salmon steelhead, where you're actually going to fight the fish with the reel, or saltwater conditions where the reel needs to have a sealed drag system so the salt water doesn't affect the drag system.
Yeah.
Then it starts to matter a little bit more. But generally, the reel for a beginner trout setup doesn't have to be.
Because it doesn't have drag, right?
It does have a adjustable drag system. Yep.
Okay.
But you're not always using that.
And it's not as important.
Yep, not as important. And some of that's preference. Like, I don't use the reel to fight my fish unless it takes me onto my reel. But a lot of people will put the fish on their reel and then use the reel. So some of that's preference. But again, for a trout around here, for the most part, it's not going to blow out your drag system. Sure. And so you can afford to not have the top
But
quality.
Maybe a salmon or a steelhead would.
Then it really starts to come into play. Yep. And then you want that.
So it depends on what species you want to get started fishing for.
Yep.
Okay.
Cool.
And then the fly line is another thing that is overlooked, I think, a lot of the times. That's probably the most important part to spend money on is high quality fly line, and to match it properly to the weight rod that you have. Okay. And so that's another important factor that I think gets overlooked.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So what should somebody be looking for in a body of water if they're first getting started?
You want to look for bug activity. That's a big thing, because the whole point of fly fishing is imitating the natural food source for the fish.
Yeah.
And so you want to make sure that there's adequate food source for the fish. And a lot of times that food source is super reliant on the water temperature, like I had mentioned before. So you want to, if you're targeting trout, you want to make sure that there's cold, clean water for the fish to have year round. And then most of the time when you have cold, clean water, you have high bug activity, consistent bug activity. And that's specifically for trout. If you're really wanting to target bass or bluegill or something like that, then there's a whole nother, it's kind of almost the opposite, where you want warmer water and different, lots of structure and things like that. Yep. So it really just depends on what species you're targeting. But if you're targeting trout, cold, clean water and bug activity is a big factor.
So it sounds like if you're starting off as a regular fisherman going to fly fishing, then sort of your fish finding skills are similar.
100%. Yep.
It's just more of looking at, like, I don't really know how to say it, what the difference is. Is that more of the
watching where the fish are feeding a little more, and those seams and pockets that you talked about earlier.
There's a whole field of like entomology, the study of bugs, that comes into play, and the life cycle of bugs. So then when the fish are feeding. So 70-ish% of a trout's diet is made up subsurface. Okay. And so the 30% of the time, or whatever the ratio might be, you're seeing them eat on top of the water. That's a limited thing. They're not always going to be eating on the top. And if they are eating on top, those bugs that they're eating were subsurface before they flew around and hatched. And so they're eating them subsurface first.
Eating the larvae and the grubs.
Yep, exactly. And so that happens all before they're starting to eat them on the top of the water. You just see the ones that are on the top of the water. And so understanding the life cycle of bugs is super important, whether it be a mayfly or caddis or stoneflies. Understanding the life cycle of those bugs can really go into a lot of factors.
There's this bug that I see in the creeks that its shell is made up of like glued together little sticks and rocks.
Yep.
What is that?
That is a caddis.
That's a caddis.
Yep. And so that specific situation, it's a cased caddis where they collect the sediment and the stuff around them to create a little shell around them, protective shell. Okay. They'll latch onto the bottom of a rock. And then when their life cycle progresses, they then come out of that exoskeleton or shell, whatever you want to call it. And then they'll come up out of the water, shed that, and then fly around, reproduce, lay their eggs lay on the bottom of the water. Okay. And the cycle starts all over again.
So are the trout eating it when it has the rocks and sticks on it, or are they only eating it in between that?
Generally, more often it's in between, because when they are in that rock casing, they're glued to the bottom, so there's less of them floating through the water and whatnot.
Okay.
But if there's an opportunity where one of those gets dislodged from the bottom, they'll definitely
eat it. Sticks and all, huh?
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
Yep. There's this thing you call the stomach pump, where you can flush the contents of a fish's stomach, and then it'll suck out their stomach contents. And so then, I've done that a good bit of times where then you squirt that out into your hand or a cup or something, and you see, you can see exactly what they're eating. Yeah. And there's been plenty of times where I've seen a full case caddis in the stomach of a fish. So
you ever tried to mimic that with a fly?
Oh, definitely. Yep. Yeah, that's a tactic. And so then, this based on the stomach contents, I'm looking, okay, there's a bunch of these. So if I'm only seeing one case caddis, but a dozen of the caddis pupa that are up higher in the water column, then I'm probably going to use the caddis pupa rather than the case caddis.
So then with what you're talking about, pumping their stomach, that's something that you did, I'm assuming, in your fisheries class, but is that something that you do just as a fisherman?
Yeah, just as a fisherman. Just a way to pick up. I just carry, it's essentially like a turkey baster. Yeah. And you just stick it down and do it. So yeah, it's a tactic to kind of.
And it doesn't hurt the fish, obviously.
You're stealing their lunch, and you can cause some damage
if you don't know what you're doing.
Something down their throat. Yeah. But I'll only do it on fish that are big enough where I know that that tube can fit down their throat and stuff. So yeah.
Wow, that's cool. Yeah. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, you kind of answered that question there, though. That we had about how you pick flies, and that pretty well answers it.
Yeah.
Because what they're eating. I know when I go into Sportsman's or somewhere and I see the whole case of flies, I'm like, how do you choose that?
Wet ones, dry ones, weighted
flies,
ones.
Whatever. So that kind of answers that question, is just kind of watching and looking what's there and figuring it out.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's one of the advantages of going into fly shops too. That they're a great resource for that, where they'll know exactly, hey, this river right now, there's a sweet caddis fly hatch going on right now. And the bugs are really focusing in on the adults. So you want this pattern right here in this size, rather than just taking a blind shot in the dark.
Yeah,
and being like, well, it could be.
That's been my fly fishing experience.
You still might catch fish that way, and there's nothing wrong with doing that. The best way to learn is go out and do it. But
yeah.
So a question I had is for somebody like learning to cast. Do you recommend like going to a lake first, and where it's maybe more open bank and learning to cast that way, or just casting in your yard or something like that?
Starting off in your yard is a great spot, or a big field or something like that. Go out to a park and put a little piece of yarn or a fly with the hook clipped off on the end of your leader, and just go out there and practice casting.
Okay.
And filming yourself too, so you really understand what I'm doing. That's a great way to go about it.
Okay.
And so, because it's hard to look at your fly as you're casting sometimes. Hey, where's my rod tip stopping on my back cast? So looking at that, whether it be just actually watching it or filming it, that's a great way to go about it. But yeah, go out somewhere where there's no trees, no obstructions, and you can really get a feel for what's going to happen.
Does it change a lot being on the water and pulling your stuff off the water versus practicing at the park and just lifting out of the grass?
Yeah, there is that surface tension that will come into play, and it actually makes it easier when you're on the water.
Oh, really?
Because that surface tension creates that holding point, and so it loads the rod up better, which allows that line to kind of propel itself a little easier. So it is easier on the water, but there's less complications when you're in the grass.
Sort of the main thing to watch, at least from my experience, was I kept like whipping the line, and then my flies would break apart from that. So I guess what you want to do is kind of be more gentle, right, on your transition from back to forward with your rod.
Yeah, there's a misconception, I think, often where you have to be gentle with a fly rod. It's less about the gentleness, more about the timing of it.
Okay.
And so when you're bringing that rod forward too quick, that's when you get that snapping sound.
Okay.
And so you got to go back with a little bit of tenacity. You have to get that thing going behind you, and then there's a long pause that then has to happen to allow that fly line to roll all the way out. And then once it's rolled all the way out, then I start to bring it forward. But I have to bring it forward again with a little bit of tenacity. Yeah. Otherwise, it's just going to kind of pile up because it's 20, 30 feet behind me.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That was always my experience. It just goes right in front of me, and I'm like, that didn't work.
Do you ever get yourself?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yep. It's you get more tangles than you'll ever believe fly fishing.
Oh yeah.
And thankfully I've never gotten hooked super bad.
Okay.
But yeah, I've hit myself in the back of the head plenty of times with the fly.
Because if you've got 30 feet plus of line coming back over your head with a hook on the end of it,
yep.
I can see that.
The old chuck and duck.
Yeah.
I've definitely done that a few times.
That's cool.
Those are some awesome tips. Thank you.
Yeah, that's good. I think that gives me some ideas too, if I want to jump into that. Cool. I wanted to continue our conversation by talking about FCA Outdoors, because that's like your main thing right now. Yeah. I guess first of all, we kind of have been going under the assumption that everyone knows what that is. Could you maybe tell us what is FCA Outdoors?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm still learning a lot about it myself. It's a fluid thing,
yeah,
and it looks different in a lot of different places wherever you're at. And so, with FCA, just as a whole organization as a whole, their goal is to focus on bringing every student, athlete, and coach to a growing relationship with Jesus Christ. And so, then you incorporate the outdoors, and then you kind of add that growing relationship through the outdoors. And so that's kind of the FCA Outdoors overall. And so in some situations that looks like bass fishing teams, where it's still kind of in this team setting, athletic type setting.
Yeah.
And then in other situations, you might have like clay shooting tournaments or things like that, where there's still this competition aspect. But then in other situations, and more kind of what it looks like out here is this opportunity kind of for a reset and kind of a drawback away from the hectic sports world. And so it looks different in a lot of different places, to answer your question.
So there's not like a preset, pre-made program, right, for what you do.
Correct.
It's sort of just going with the flow.
Yeah. It was a little intimidating at first. FCA was like, hey, here you go. What do you want this to look like? And I was like, oh, wow. Okay. So yeah, it's been a big learning process, figuring out what that looks like and what I can do or what I can't do, or what is, the rule book say. And it's kind of, it's been a big learning experience in that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Wow. And FCA in general, you already kind of gave the mission of it, but like what does FCA in general do as far as reaching their goals?
Yeah, they are really involved in the school systems, where they are identifying these coaches or teachers or having staff go into these scenarios where they can then create these huddles, is what they call them, where the students, maybe it's after a lunch period or after a coach or a practice, where they can go in and share the gospel with each other and get into the word and be in community and be able to be around other believers, maybe for the first time, where there's not a space at home where they're familiar with that. So there's a lot of benefits of it for sure. But really trying to create these spaces for student athletes to come together and explore their faith.
That's cool. Yeah. I've been involved with FCA a little bit, just on the outside, some of the bigger events, as a youth pastor, taking kids to it and going to it. I haven't had a chance to be part of a huddle yet because it falls on days where I'm busy. But when I first heard of FCA Outdoors, I was like, that's different. That's something right up my alley.
Yeah.
The outdoors perspective of it caught my interest.
Mm-hmm.
And so
one of FCA's big mottos is they want to reach every student athlete into a growing relationship. And so, the outdoors can provide that opportunity for someone who maybe doesn't play sports, but are really passionate about the outdoors. And so it still gives them an opportunity to hear the gospel and to get tied into a local church.
I think that's a big aspect of it that's intriguing to me too.
Yeah.
Is because I wasn't an athlete, I was in 4-H. Mm-hmm. So maybe there's going to be FCA 4-H or FCA fair, but anyway.
I've heard of FCA motocross.
Yep, that's a thing.
Yeah. Okay.
There's equestrian.
Oh, rodeo. I saw a rodeo one.
Rodeo.
Yeah.
There's a lot of options.
So they're spreading their reach. But yeah, because for me, when I was a youth pastor in McMinnville, McMinnville High School has a pretty active FCA thing going on. And I was able to make it to the huddles. Mm-hmm. And it was really cool because I don't know if they're all like this, but this one was very student-led.
Yeah.
as in the students who were part of it. And the funny thing is, it was open to every student, athlete or not. You know, it wasn't just
right.
You know, and I think that maybe as a whole, FCA obviously is really hyper focusing on the athletes because that's what it is. But the way that it came to fruition in our context, it was very much like more of just a Christian student gathering, you know. Fellowship of Christian Students is kind of how it felt, you know. But then we still did the big like sports related events and competitions and stuff. But it was really cool because it was mostly student led, and the students would rotate leading, like either sharing their testimony or, you know, leading a little bit of a Bible study during the lunch period. So it's a cool program. I love that, you know, it's in the schools. I think is super important because, I mean, as a parent of a young kid who's getting to school age, you know, it's been a lot of debate, a lot of prayer between me and my wife. Like, do we send him to public school or do we, you know, try to do some other situation? But, you know, because the public schools are a pretty dark place. There's a lot that those students are facing. A lot of them are facing it at home too, but then there's a lot that are facing it in the schools, just hard stuff, dark things. And, you know, I think it's really important that FCA is there to provide a light and a space for that. And it's optional. You elect to go on your own. You know, we're amazed and thankful that we get to use a school classroom for it, you know? And the teachers who are part of it, the coaches, they're volunteering, you know, they're not getting paid for it by the school. There's no conflict of interest anywhere in that. It's just like a needed space, you know. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
So we already kind of hit on it, FCA in general, but like, who is FCA Outdoors reaching? Like, maybe you have a specific example of like a student that you've, you know, been a part of. Obviously without sharing names, but I just want to paint a good picture of like the situations that you're working in.
Yeah, I think the best way that I can put it into context, especially for what FCA Outdoor looks like with what I'm doing, is just envision there's a kid that doesn't have any faith input in their home. And they're going to this huddle and they get, you know, this little glimmer of hope. And then they start to like lean in on that. And then the next year the huddle's gone. The leader that was leading that is gone because they weren't able to sustain the pace, or they had too much going on. And then that kid, all of a sudden, it's gone. There's no input. And I think we can all think of that one person that has profound impact in our life. And it wasn't just a one-time thing. Maybe it was, but for the most part, it's that consistency and that longevity in that role that allows that kid to have that, to feel that impact. And so with FCA Outdoors, the goal is to try and keep those people who are having that impact on those kids in that role for as long as possible. And you know, you hear stories about these kids who find so much hope and so much purpose in what they're doing beyond the sport that they're playing in, beyond who they are or what their identity might be, where they can be firmly rooted in Christ, in their identity. And that allows them to go and like you said, student leaders, like that's, then they move up into this role where then they're now impacting and influencing the next one up. And so it's a longevity component to it.
Yeah. So like, a lot of what you're doing is working with those coaches. And are you like doing outdoor stuff with them? You taking them fishing, or are you doing more like vision casting and? Yeah,
it's getting them out into the outdoors, finding those leaders that are making the impact in those kids' lives, and then, hey, what does it look like for you to be filled up? Like, what do you need to be filled up? Whether that's, hey, let's go on a fly fishing trip. Let's float the Mackenzie River for a day, where you don't have to have your phone out. You don't have to be worrying about what you have to do at home. It's, we're going to take care of everything. And you're going to have an opportunity to catch some fish. You're going to have an opportunity to sit down in the boat and watch the water go by, whatever they need. So trying to provide that experience in that way to sustain them and to fill their cup.
Take a break and protect them from burnout.
Exactly. Yep.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's important.
Yeah, that's part of the reason I hunt and fish. And when I can't get out, I feel it.
Yep.
As a youth pastor, you invest in these kids, and these kids become just almost like your own kids. Sometimes I dare say, kids that have struggling with not having father figures or anything like that. And so you kind of become that person in their life, and then dealing with that, and, kids leaving, coming back, and hearing things that are going on at home or at school, and it weighs you down.
Mm-hmm.
And so, having an outlet is an awesome, awesome thing. And so many times Jesus left to go be alone up on the hill or in the wilderness.
Yeah.
And that's that outlet. That's really cool that you guys provide that.
Yeah, because the fruit that we're seeing from it, right? Like I'll think of like the Fields of Faith example, because that's something that we did at my high school when I was in high school, and even shortly after high school, I got to help, put that on just like as a minor role. But, the things you'd see is like kids coming to Christ for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we want. That's what we're trying to do. But then there's also the fostering side of it.
Yeah.
So then you'd see this cycle where like a kid would come to Fields of Faith because they're invited by a friend. It's a huge event. They get like, I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of kids there.
Yeah.
And they're students, we don't call them kids, we call them students, but
they're kids.
And then
kids.
they're kids. Yeah. And then you would there's a bunch of fun games. They get all worn out, they get hyped up like crazy, and then worship time and testimonies from their peers that they walk around in high school with. And so then you see these kids who like see, oh yeah, I know that person, I go to school with them, they're sharing this testimony of who Jesus is, and then there's the gospel invitation, and it seems like every time we did it, there were students giving their life to Christ for the first time. And then a couple years later, those students would be sharing their testimony once again at Fields of Faith, but then there's the huddle happening in the meantime throughout the school year. And so I think that's sort of just super important.
Yep.
Yeah.
Super important and fruitful.
And I think because it is student-led, because it is in the high school, within the school system, so it kind of has to be student-led.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see the coaches in the background, though.
Yep.
You don't see those meetings that they're having outside of school, teaching them and having those devotion times and giving them prompts and ideas and things. You don't really see that. And so that takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
And it's all volunteer work.
Yeah.
Which,
that's a big side of it.
That's the cool thing. And, as a paid youth pastor, the amount of work that I do, knowing that kind of stuff is volunteer, and then you're actually teaching and coaching these kids to share their faith, to do a Bible lesson, right? It's pretty crazy, the amount of work that goes into that. And like you were talking about in McMinnville, they've now expanded to Dunaway and Patton as well.
Oh, really? To the middle schools. So
it's expanding, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's the whole Willamette Valley FCA is blowing up right now, and a lot of students getting involved in serious ways, and it's super exciting to see like how that's just going to keep having a snowball effect and growing, and it's really exciting to see what the Lord is doing with all that.
Yeah. One thing that I've always noticed is we kind of share students, being from the church side of it.
Yeah.
Versus the FCA school and coaches side of it. Like we share students.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing.
Yep.
Do you find that your coaches are coming from the churches, or are they coming from outside the churches, like the schools?
I think I guess I don't know enough of the background to like really speak to that,
sure.
I would say.
Yeah.
But I do know that FCA puts a lot of emphasis on, hey, this isn't about trying to get people to FCA. It's about trying to get people plugged into a local church.
Oh, okay.
And so FCA is just a vehicle to do that. And so I think in the same way where the coaches and the people that are volunteering are oftentimes one of the vessels to get plugged into a local church. So
sure, yeah, because they naturally.
Yep.
If you lead a kid to Jesus, you're going to invite him to go to church with you.
Yep.
Like that's
Right. Yeah.
So that makes a lot of sense. Okay, cool. And does FCA Outdoors do any kind of like events or I guess we would classify them, to use internal speak, as like outreach events, right? But you might not call them that.
Yeah, I think what it looks like for us is we call them retreats, where you're going on an overnight retreat. So you would find some of the FCA staff, maybe some of the donors, some of the volunteers, and you're like, hey, we're gonna go stay on the Mackenzie River at this sweet lodge right on the river for 4 nights, and we're gonna bring in a really good chef, and we're gonna have this awesome experience where yes, we're gonna go catch fish, but ultimately it's about building this relationship, and we'll have some guided discussion and things like that. But ultimately it's about, hey, let's come together and build a relationship through this shared experience. Okay.
So not as much with students, more so with leaders and coaches.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. In this specific FCA Outdoors scenario. Yep.
Yeah.
There, There are FCA Outdoors though that are involved with students, correct?
Yep.
But not so much in our area.
Correct. Yep. That I would say this is a pretty unique scenario where it's just focusing on more of the leaders within the FCA community. Most scenarios, it looks like direct focus on the students.
Like taking them fishing,
Yep.
taking them. I saw in some other states they have archery shooting and they have whole camps.
Yeah, because you mentioned like trap shooting and stuff too. Is that something that you see coming to our area eventually, or is there just not, you don't see the need for that as much?
I would really hope that it's coming, and that there's definitely a need, I think, and a desire for it.
Yeah.
And even there's a big FCA camp in Nampa, Idaho every year where they offer a bunch of sports, and they started doing fly fishing there for the last couple of years as one of the sports they offer. And so I'll go over there and coach that as one of the sports that they offer. Yeah. And so there's some camps throughout the summer that are happening and that will keep happening. As far as direct outreach with that, and that's only going to grow into more opportunities for that as the FCA Outdoor grows.
Yeah, cool. Cool. And then does that mean that FCA Outdoors out here is still fairly young?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Before I moved out here, there was no FCA Outdoors.
Oh,
so.
Wow. Yep. Okay. So you're like the founding member of
trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
It's very fresh.
Yep.
Wow. Cool. I didn't realize that you were, at the outset of it. Yeah. Cool. Well, Jericho, do you have any more questions about FCA Outdoors?
Probably. We'll talk afterwards a little bit and about the process of maybe starting something with students and outdoors. And I used to take kids fishing just as a youth pastor. My pastor said, that's fine. You could do that as one of your things. And so I called it Fishing with a Purpose. And I would take kids fishing, but it became a lot of work, untangling lines and trying to keep the kids at the water fishing instead of walking away and stuff. But
it's not a one-man show.
But that's something I've always been passionate about and wanted to do.
Let's talk about it. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, cool. All right. We always end the show. I guess before we do that, is there anything else you want to say about FCA or FCA Outdoors?
Just if you can think of any leaders in your area that would benefit from this, send them our way. We want to take care of them. So
great, cool. We always end the show with what we call the real talk, and this is, in my opinion, the most important part of the show. No pressure, but really, I just want to hear your perspective on your spiritual connection to your life in the outdoors and how you interact with God in that.
Yeah. I think we've talked a little bit about it just with the way that creation allows you to see the grandness of God. I think that's one of the major points for me, where it's not just an escape. You're not trying to escape reality, but you're actually going to try and connect. And for me, I feel like the Lord's voice is the decibel of his voice is always turned up when I'm outside in creation, when I can be looking at a beautiful rainbow trout in the mountains and the moving water. It's just, for me, I'm able to feel the closest to God in those moments.
Yeah.
And I think there's like an intimacy in those moments where you're like, wow, the Lord made this, and I get to experience it, and he made this for me to experience. And so there's this connection there that I have a really hard time seeing those beautiful scenarios and just not being completely in awe of God. And so I think it puts things into perspective for me, and it also allows this connection that I can't feel sitting behind a desk, or I can't feel as easily in a concrete jungle.
Yeah.
It happens a lot easier when I'm outside, where I can feel that connection and that closeness to the Lord.
Yeah. I think a big part of that is like the silence,
Mm-hmm.
And then I think because we're in all those other contexts, we're like busy, we're working, we're being confronted by all these different things. And, so I think that's a big part of it. I think there's another side of it that is like God's original design,
Yeah.
kind of like getting back to our roots of what it means to be a human created by God.
Yep.
I think it has to do with the outdoors.
Well, we were originally, designed to take care of it, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
God put us in dominion over it, it says.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think when we get back to that, we get distracted by all this technology, all this stuff, and getting back to the original, I think, is because that's still a remnant of what he created, right?
Yeah.
And it's the only thing that is still there.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's the same.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's so important to get outside and recognize that.
Yep.
Yeah, a lot of people probably consider me to be like hyper spiritual about that subject, but I really do feel like every house is built by someone, but God is the builder of all. Is Hebrews 3:4. And like we're sitting in a room right now, and I'm touching this wall made out of drywall and paint and texture. And it's like God made that. He's a builder of all, but like a person made this, like this, God didn't directly make this in the sense of what
God
I'm trying to say.
God made the person that made it.
Mm-hmm.
He made the materials and, but like this was made by a person. It's not going to last forever either. Like this wall here that I'm touching, I don't know. Someone could come in and remodel the building in 10 years and it'll be gone. Or who knows how long this building's going to be here, It's just stuff we don't know. But the God's original design of a wild earth will always be here.
Yep.
And if all the humans on earth disappeared, it would eventually grow back into how God created it to be.
Yeah.
And so I think that's another part of the reason why what you're saying about how you connect with the outdoors, it's just like on a very deep basic level, it's like the way things are right in the world when they're wild,
Yeah, like man has played with a lot of things. We talked about stocked fish. We've talked about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, dam, stocked fish.
But still inside that fish is God's design. It never left.
Yep.
It's always there.
It
God
has
designed
the
that
instinct.
fish to do that, especially talking about steelhead. God designed that fish to want to go out and feed and come back to the same exact spot it was born.
Wild.
Right? You think about that, a salmon that goes out to the ocean, out to Columbia, and then goes clear to Idaho.
Yeah.
How can you say that just happens?
Yeah.
Right? In my mind, that can't just happen.
Yeah.
It was designed that way. And even after man has messed with it, even if man stalked it in Idaho and it swam all the way back, it still knows to do that. Or geese when they fly south, or the rut cycle of deer or elk.
It's amazing.
It's natural. It's what they were designed to do. And
it's like his fingerprint is in everything, but like his direct signature is on all of that stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Like that's one thing, like I really love science. And I know that there's sort of this vein of Christians who are afraid of science, or like even against science in a lot of ways. My son he's 5, but he said he wants to be a scientist. Like he loves science too. And I always tell him like, yeah, science is great. You're just studying God's creation. Oh. You know, like for me, and to speak to the Christians who are like against science or afraid of science, it's like, it's just gathering data of the way things objectively are. How you interpret that data is going to be influenced by your worldview. Right. So like if your worldview is that there is no God, then you're going to interpret that data to mean this or that, you know? But if your worldview is that there is a loving God and he created all this, all that you're doing with science is studying God's creation, you know?
And how awesome it is.
Yeah.
You're looking at the little details and the finite things that you can't see from the outside. And when you dive in, it's...
Hey, look at that deer skull right there. Look at all the little lines and flakes and specific intricacies of it. And then like you zoom out to the ocean or just space and these huge, gigantic things. It's like in and out, all of it just makes me feel like a small little thing, but also just in awe of our amazing world that God made, you know?
It's good to feel small sometimes.
Yeah.
In that setting.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's good stuff. I love talking about that. Thanks for making the time to come out, dude. I really appreciate it. You were a great guest. You had a lot of good stuff, and I'm gonna put some thought into fly fishing.
All right, but, let's do it together on the water sometime.
Sounds cool. Good, dude. Sounds good. You're close enough that it wouldn't be too hard at all. Yeah. Awesome. Well, do either of you guys have any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
Nope. Just if you're listening to this and you never really thought of it that way, again, we challenge you to go outside and look.
Yeah.
Recognize. Scripture says that creation will verify that there is a God, and so we just challenge you to that. And He's a God that loves us so much that He sent His Son to die for us, for our sin. And so, the Bible says, if you believe in Him, you will be saved.
Yep.
And so that's our challenge to you today. And if not, keep enjoying the outdoors, but take a look.
If you're not seeing that when you're out there, I might challenge you and say that your eyes are closed.
Yeah.
But Colten, could you plug FCA Outdoors or anywhere you might want to send people? Where can they learn more? Maybe there's some portal for donations or just more information, or how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, Willamette Valley FCA has a lot of information on what FCA does here in the Willamette Valley. And then in that website, there's also a tab for the outdoors page, which will direct you to a lot more information on exactly what it looks like, as well as how to get a hold of me, as well as if you were wanting to be a financial supporter of what I'm doing and what FCA is doing here in the Valley. All those are there at Willamette Valley FCA.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I'm Bryant.
I'm Jericho.
I'm Colten.
Thank you for listening.
Catch you next time.